Hi, it's Ben here from Drum Lab TV. What I want to talk about today is drum technique, specifically foot technique. I'm studying a Bachelor of Exercise Science at the moment, and I just got off my last exam block, and one of my subjects was musculoskeletal anatomy. And it was a pretty full-on course. We looked at all the muscles and tendons and bones and joints and all of that throughout the body. And one thing that I came across that I thought was really interesting when we looked at the foot was the ankle joint, and something about it specifically I thought related to drums. And I thought that I would post a video on how this particular anatomical makeup of the ankle joint affects us as drummers. So this here is my really bad drawing of a leg and an ankle joint. Right here, this is the tibia, this is your big shin bone, and over here is your fibula, which lies just beside it. Now, the tibia and the fibula contribute to make the ankles. So when you feel your ankle, that's one of your ankles, the inside ankle, is from your tibia, and the outside ankle is from your fibula. Now, basically what they do is they form what's called a mortise joint. The two ankles kind of form a rectangle like this, and they hug the foot bone, which comes up between the two, which is the talus. Now the talus up here, this is where it slides in between the two ankles. The talus has a feature on it called the trochlea, which is a smooth, round surface. And the trochlea is thicker towards the front than it is towards the back. What this means is, when you plantar flex your foot, which is pointing the balls of your toes towards the ground, the thick portion of the trochlea moves out between the two ankles. And so it's not hugged as tightly, so your foot is a little bit more, it's less stable, it's more free to move around. Whereas when you dorsiflex your foot, which is pointing your toes towards the sky, that thick portion of the trochlea moves into that mortise joint, and it's hugged tightly by the ankles. So it's a lot more stable and it has much less movement. So how does this relate to us as drummers? My thinking is this: if you're playing heel down technique, your foot is always dorsiflexed because your footboard runs up like this towards the beater. So your heel's down and your toes are up when you're playing heel down technique. So that trochlea is firmly wedged between the two ankles. So your foot is a lot more firm and stable. You're not going to be able to roll your foot around or move it side to side as much. It's just going to be going up and down, which is great for beginners. Okay. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying advanced players don't use heel down technique as well. It's excellent for everyone. But what I'm saying is, when you're first starting out, it's probably the best technique to teach your students because it's so limited in your range of motion, and you are only using your leg muscles to contribute to the up and down motion to make the beater move, means that it's going to be a lot more consistent sound. You've only got your foot moving to make the sound. Whereas with heel up technique, your foot can slide around. You've got more possibilities. You can, use sliding technique, swivel technique. You can, put your foot a little bit more off towards the side of the footboard, and there's all these kinds of things that you can do to get variations in sound, which aren't, you don't want to confuse young students. You want to, and also you want to give them the most consistent sound possible from the start. Nothing sounds worse than awful drummers. So, if you limit what they can do from the start, adjust until they build a foundation, it helps them to sound better a lot quicker. What does this mean for players who've been playing for a little bit longer? Basically, like on what I described with the anatomy, it means that people who are playing heel up technique are going to have more possibilities. As for speed and things like that, heel up technique is probably going to work better because you have more freedom to move the ankle joint in ways that you want. A lot of people use a kind of sliding technique on the bass drum where they'll hit it once and then kind of slide their foot to get the footboard to get another stroke in, which you couldn't do that in heel down. You have to physically hit it twice, which is more effort and things like that. But, you know, as for which one's better, there's a lot of people like, oh, no, heel up's way better than heel down, or vice versa. And, I mean, really, it's just what you want. For me, whenever I'm playing jazz and I just want a consistent, soft pulse on my bass drum going, I always play heel down. It's much easier to play quiet heel down because you're limited in your range of motion, plus you're not dropping your leg down on top of the pedal the whole time. Whereas with heel up, if I'm playing something like metal or progressive or something like that where there's intricate foot patterns, I always go with heel up because it means that I can slide my foot along the footboard, get extra strokes in by rotating my heel outwards and things like that you simply can't do with heel down. So I hope that my explanation on these techniques and the anatomy of things has been helpful and clear to you, and hopefully now you can kind of understand a little bit more of why you can get certain feels or certain techniques to do things for you that the other can't. You know, a lot of the time with drums, it's like, yeah, well, I know with heel down I can do this, and I just kind of can't really do the same thing with heel up technique. And now you can kind of see that, yes, the two are different. Functionally, they're going to move your foot in different ways, but that's not to say that one's inferior to the other. In fact, it's to show that both have their own benefits to offer. And hopefully you guys can go away and practice both heel up and heel down so that you're not limited and that you can apply the diversity of both techniques to your playing. Thanks for watching.